All right. Welcome to Heaven on Earth. This is the Creation series, a Sunday school series for understanding why and how the gods create in heaven. This is video 4. Creation, the first universe, from the God that did it. I want you to know that he was so very honored to be chosen out of the group, to be volunteered, to be picked. And that a group of them worked on the equations and the programming together. And they had to get approval for what they were doing. So, like you wouldn't give a nuclear weapon to just anyone on this planet and let them go run around detonating them. What he was doing required supervision and permission, but just awareness and authorization from heaven's a complete democracy. And when we all rise together in our Allah mind, which is the all mind for the all good, for the highest good of all, that, we just double check, made sure it's good before we fired off a nuke in heaven. If you can imagine a person rolling up on themselves, a 6-foot man, turning into like a roly-poly and rolling up on itself and shrinking down to a third of his size because he just condensed all of his mass into a solid rock. And 100% of his attention, like that little rolled up bug, 100% of his attention was focused into the center of the creation. And the void was created, and all of the God consciousness was added, and the program was running, and literally it was like his consciousness was pulled in, and so that all he could do was focus all of his mind, heart, body, soul into that creation, because the creation was him. It was like creating a baby in your belly, okay? And so the God, is here holding the universe inside himself, all tucked in, staring at it in awe, watching all of the God consciousness run through the program, just as if it's the most beautiful, amazing, magnificent baby that's ever been had in all of creation. Just staring in awe and love and joy and rapture and amazement and glory, watching the program unfold, feeling more of himself, because as the karmic side goes through its part, which the first universe didn't really have much. It was just go in and grow, and it really didn't have a lot of programming to help it expand. And staring at all of himself becoming all of these other pieces and parts, and his consciousness experiencing itself separate from himself. And then getting to the end of the thing, and the whole thing zips up as fast as it is created. The whole thing shuts down and is over, and all of the God consciousness that had been compressed and going through that experience, okay, when it was undone and unzipped and unpacked and unlocked, it was 3 times, 10 times. He just grew exponentially in heaven. He was no longer 6 feet tall. He was fucking like 18 feet tall. Instantly, in the fractionist of a second, he went from 3 feet tall to 18 feet tall. And everybody in heaven was like, holy smokes, oh my goodness, look what Carl is doing. Ah. And you know, it was a beautiful, amazing, glorious ride. And he had just had the time of his life. Little dazed, little out of his body, little like, holy, oh my gosh, what happened? I'm exponentially larger than I was. Can someone roll me over there? I just can't quite stand. I'm kind of dizzy and out of it for the moment. Okay, but it was a complete success. Okay, and it was amazing. And as soon as he recovered, all he wanted to do was do it again. Okay. And when that happened, okay, other gods wanted to run programs, and so other people got to go next. Okay. But when it was Carl's turn again, and Carl got to do it again, now Carl was so huge, they had to work up a whole new program for him because he had a lot more God consciousness to add to the program. So they had to modify the program for the excessive amount of God consciousness that he now had. He could make a bigger universe and have a more complex ride, a bigger playground, and have a more complex ride. And so he was all excited, and he got, you know, when it was his turn again, and it was his turn, and he got to go again. He's like, ah! And they had already altered the programs and been working on developing the karmic ride side of the ride and tweaking the framework so that it developed better and faster. And so he does it again, and when he comes down or back, oh my goodness, excuse me. When he comes down or back, he is so large that he instantly duplicates. Okay, he turns into two gods. He replicates himself. That never happened in heaven before. Okay, it may have been how the very first gods actually grew into more gods, was a self-division process, but it hadn't happened in forever. And all of a sudden, boom, he was now twos of himself, each different, each more than he was, and perfect. And all of heaven was amazed, like, oh my gosh, we can grow God consciousness so much faster, so much better, so much more easily by running these programs and running God consciousness through them. It's amazing. It works. The experiment works. And so everybody was extremely excited. Everybody was thrilled. Everybody's heart was full of joy. They thought they had found the answer, and they decided that the next thing they wanted was to do group playgrounds, because if we could do a whole group of gods at once, we could create a bigger framework that could hold a more complex ride and grow more God consciousness and produce more children. And so the next video, is going to be about group playgrounds, okay, and the war in heaven. I'm going to finish this video off with George's perspective. George and Sally and Fred all were part of the protection around Carl. and they watched what he did very closely. They watched his whole experience, okay? And their perspective really was that he kind of curled up on himself, and from out here, all they could see was like his belly exploding, like fireworks going off in his belly. But every time it did, he just radiated love and joy and amazement and astonishment and joy and love and amazement and astonishment and love and joy and amazement and astonishment, and that was just all that it flowed in a continuous stream from him, was this overwhelming love and joy and amazement and astonishment and excitement, and just like the most amazing thing he'd ever experienced so far in his godhood was what he was doing. And it was beyond any experience he had had as a god, in this way to separate a piece from himself and experience himself this way. And it was just nothing but glory and beauty and amazement, and watching his stomach blow up like there were fireworks in it. Because, I mean, there were a lot of gods that were like, isn't that painful? Doesn't that hurt? Isn't that, should we stop him? But all that kept coming off of him was love. And you couldn't tap on his shoulder and be like, are you okay? They couldn't. They couldn't interrupt the program. Once it was going, and all they could do was like hit the stop button and shut the whole thing down and bring him out of it. But all that kept coming off of him was love and joy and peace and harmony and excitement and expansion, and they couldn't stop the ride. They weren't going to stop it and get him out until he was done. And his stomach kept exploding, and they're just like, okay, he's happy, we're going to let him ride to the end of the program. And they did, and then boom, he was freaking huge. He was like all of heaven. He all of heaven shifted when he came out of that ride. Like all of heaven was like wobbled, because he grew so exponentially so fast. And it affected all of heaven. It was like if any one cell of your body suddenly magnified itself 10 times bigger. And like, oh my gosh, yeah, if your hand suddenly got 10 times bigger, you'd be like, oh my gosh, what happened? And then had to be reabsorbed into your body. All of heaven was aware, and it was glorious. It was amazing. It was exciting. It was the most new, exciting adventure that had ever been had in heaven. Was this adventure of creating and experiencing yourself by separating a piece of yourself from yourself and letting it have its own adventures, and then absorbing it back into yourself. And it's all done with equations. And I know some of the equations. I've seen some of the God code. It will come out in future books. It just, like, the math takes 3 hours to explain, where I can explain what I saw in 15 minutes. And you can get the basics of the concepts, okay? It's not that hard when you understand the basics, that it's all created with equations, that everything's created out of God consciousness, and everything that's created out of God consciousness goes back. And there is no hell. Everything that came from source returns to source, okay? This is a program that's running. It's an experience. Ultimately, there isn't, in God's mind, everything comes down to growth. And God would like us children to create heaven on earth and learn the law of love and live in love and peace and beauty every moment of the day, with every thought of our heart and our mind and our being, as Jesus did. our beloved brother who I honor and love, and who unlocked a door for all of us. People don't understand what he did. How did he save everyone? He unlocked a door and got in charge of balancing all the karmic equations for the planet. He's like, if you understand in a very real way, he unlocked a door and he also applied for a position. The God that created him applied for the position. And he did beautifully. And I will explain, perfection is an equation to God. It's not just this random set of rules. It's actual things. And I will explain it in a future video. But right now, this is the creation series. So the next video is about group playgrounds. Because after Carl did his ride the second time, all the gods realized we can create group rides that create children directly into heaven at the end of them. And that, my brothers and sisters, was where I'll leave this video for today. I love you, love you, love you. Quantum hugs and kisses from heaven. Mommies and daddies up there love us all so very much. They love us, love us, love us, love us, love us, love us, love us. Have a beautiful day dancing on this magical planet. 3 things you can do right now to help create heaven on earth. Like this video. It helps the algorithms share it with more people. Subscribe to this channel and share these messages with someone you know who could use some more hope, love, peace in their hearts, and would like to experience a little heaven on earth today.